Hey, what is up, friend and fellow anti-netter? Scott Shepard here. Hey, so I want to share something with you. I was recently on a little mini vacation this week. I'm driving to the office on a Friday at 9:30 a.m. and I'm getting back into the swing of things for the first time today after about like a week off. And during my lovely little vacation with my Earth Angel, I was reading a book called Bandersnatch, and it is a book that tells the tale and story, the true story of C.S. Lewis, who is the author of the Narnia series and actually a whole swath of books about Christianity and religion, and also J.R.R. Tolkien. And, they both worked at Oxford together, and they got together. They created an informal group that met like on Thursday nights, and they would drink tea. Imagine about 12 Oxford professors in the humanities and arts and humanities and literature, languages, and this group would meet on Thursday nights, and each week they would bring, one of their pieces of writing to read to the rest of the group. And, one of the most famous things to come out of this group in this collaboration process was The Lord of the Rings, which at the time was called The New Hobbit. And it's something that J.R.R. Tolkien really he was just writing for on the side. He never really intended to turn it into an epic, a myth. He just wrote it because he was interested in ancient myths, and he thought it was just going to be something that was never going to be published. However, with the encouragement and also very specific criticism of the work, of specific passages that took place in this group, J.R.R. Tolkien continued to evolve this tale until it essentially became The Lord of the Rings. And, something that's interesting is, if he didn't have this group, if he didn't have deadlines, if he didn't have something to show up with and show up to these meetings with, The Lord of the Rings would not have been written. And it just kind of highlights the importance of deadlines. There was, each week he kind of had to essentially revise and bring a new piece of writing to the group. And there's something to be said about those weekly deadlines. And, the other thing that I found interesting in this book, and it's called Bandersnatch, by the way, is that there's a significant amount of work, an insane amount of work, an obsessive amount of work that went into the writing of The Lord of the Rings. And essentially it was rewritten by hand by Tolkien, hundreds of times. And we're talking this is a manuscript, The Lord of the Rings has 600,000 words, okay? And just to give you some context, my book, Anti-Net Zettelkosten, which if you've held in your hands, you know that it's a pretty big book, right? That book is 90,000 words. So it's 6 times the size of my book. And he rewrote it and rewrote every single word, over a 14-year period, right? In the making, by hand, and then typed it out multiple times. His manuscripts, meaning his drafts, were 10,000 pages, meaning if you stacked them on the floor, they were over 7 feet high. And it's no wonder why The Lord of the Rings has become such a fascinating tale, and it has lasted so long. There's so much built into it. And J.R.R. Tolkien was kind of annoyed and pissed off because C.S. Lewis wrote the first Narnia book. He busted it out in 1 year, and then he wrote 6 others and each one took him like 1 year. And here J.R.R. Tolkien was, rewriting the most, crazy reference, in like page, 726, rewriting a paragraph like, 8 times, that week. And he had been slogging away and working on Lord of the Rings and, relating all of its tales and to the mythologies and the epics. And it had he was like, threw his hands up in despair many times and was saying, like, I'm going to quit this. I can't do this. He threw his hands up in despair and was like, I'm lost. Like, this thing has turned into an uncontrollable beast and I'm not sure where to go with it. And even at one point, it was like during World War II, where, there was just a lot of distraction. He was in London, at the time. Imagine that time in World War II. Imagine all of the external noise and distraction going on. And, he continued to write, but he hit a point where he's like, he had a wall, and he had so much despair that he put the book down and could not write a word for an entire year. And then, at the encouragement of his friends, the group was called the Inklings, okay? This group of like 12 professors and academics and intellectuals who met. Finally, he got motivated to pick it up again and start writing it again. And, this is like almost 20 years, right, in the making of this. And, C.S. Lewis once said, not only is Tolkien a procrastinator, he's also a perfectionist. And the only thing that actually resulted in the Lord of the Rings getting written was the fact that he had deadlines, and he had this group, and he had this collaboration. And so, I wanted to highlight this for you. There's a lot of lessons you can glean from this, and one of which is, hard work, right? Like, make no bones about it. You have to kind of be obsessive and be crazy, kind of how I was in the writing of the Anti-Net Zettelkasten book and everything I do. You just have to throw away any sense of rational, sense. Like, there's a lot of people out there, maybe you're surrounded by them. They're stuck in their 9-to-5 job ways, and, they just want to kind of skirt by in life. They don't want to do anything unconventional. But if you want to create something great, a great piece of writing, whatever, you have to throw away that rational sense of wanting to, just do what everyone else thinks, right? And anyway, I'm going to wrap this up, and I want to also share something with you. You probably know this. If you're a subscriber of the Scott Shepherd Letter, you get access to a private membership community. And in those communities, we have self-run working groups and implementation groups that hold, 1 or 2 Zoom meetings a week, right? And these are kind of like our internal inkling groups, right? It's something to be said. Like, if you're going to go on this journey of being an independent, writer, thinker, creator, intellectual, you need to have a group, and you need to be held accountable. You need to check in. You need to have some, a creative mix of people showing up and encouraging one another. And so if you're a member and a subscriber of the Scott Shepherd Letter, I cannot encourage you enough to log into the community portal and participate, introduce yourself, join, just even be a fly on the wall in one of the implementation calls, because they are absolutely incredible for helping you to, get to where you want to go. And so hope this helps you. Hope this gives you some insight. The bottom line, the one big takeaway is just think of and imagine in your head, stack papers next to you on the floor and be standing, and imagine seeing, 10,000 documents, which were versions and rewrites and manuscripts of the Lord of the Rings, which tower over you at over 7 feet tall. Anyway, that's all I wanted to share with you. Hope that helps. Hope that gives you some insight and ideas. And remember, the old way, the best way, the deliberate way, the anti-net way is the way. In the end, it is the easy way, because it is the way in where you don't regret doing things the right way. Okay, anyway, peace and love. And always remember to to stay crispy, my friend.